Very good morning, friends. I am Meera, Program Director, Forge Accelerator, Coimbatore. Welcome to the session on Fundamentals of Design, Design Thinking. This is part of an online massive training organized for Smart India Hackathon 2019. Design thinking. What is design thinking? How can we apply the same in our context of a hackathon? Actually, design thinking is a systematic approach to handling problems and generating new opportunities. The concept is pertinent to any field and purpose. If you want to build a new product or customer experience, this approach helps you to do that. Isn't it interesting? The principles of design thinking contribute significantly in elevating the outcomes of your innovation. Now it makes sense, right? Let us now see what the greatest innovator of all time have to say. We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. Let us now read what the world's best research journal has to say us. Harvard Business Review quotes evidence that 70 to 80% of the new product development failures are not due to lack of technology but due to lack of understanding of the user's need. Okay? But we all do things or make things for someone, our potential user or customer. I think how we think about them is actually matters the most. That's where design thinking can help us. Okay, before we immerse deeply, let's first understand, are we ready to take a real world challenge or problem statement to build a solution? Do each one of you want to become a creative problem solver who want to think differently and come up with a solution, understanding your user deeper so that your development does not fail? If it's a big S, why should we take this approach? Why should we think differently? Why should we understand our customer? Rather, empathize is the right word. Empathize with our user and do the customer discovery. We need an idea. Do all of you want to come up with an idea? Yes, right? What is an idea? Let's first understand that. An idea is basically a solution to a problem. You have to come up with an idea which will solve that problem. Let's take the context of the Smart India Hackathon. What we have in the portal is a lot of challenge statements. There are going to be many student innovators trying to solve the problem with their own ideas. Which solution will win? Obviously, the most innovative solution. If you want to build the most innovative solution and win, then let's understand first the word innovation. What comes to your mind when you read the word innovation? Yes, creativity, value for customer, new products, new solutions, new experiences, new markets, new technology, etc., etc., etc. are some of the common answers. But according to us, innovation can be simply put as solving real world problems using technology, leading to progress, change, prosperity, and profit. Are you working on a real world problem? Are you using technology to solve that problem, which leads to progress, which leads to change, which leads to prosperity or profit? If any one of them is achieved, then you are working towards building an innovative solution. Now, which innovation will win? Which one shall get the prize? There are fundamentally three principles, but which one is going to help you win? Let's look at the first. The first and the foremost is the challenge that you have chosen to solve. Is it a need or a want? Is there a dying customer who wants to solve this problem? Or is it yet another good to have solution for him? An innovation for which there is a very clear need is the first principle to build an innovative solution. So choose a problem worth solving. Second, which solution from this two images will you prefer as a user? A solution that not only fulfills the need, but most importantly, it's usable. You're building it for someone so that they will use. If that is not going to be achieved, then the technology that goes into building that solution is not going to be creating progress, prosper, or profit. Very clearly, this gives us the insight that the features or the utility is not the most important factor. It is about usability. Can you build an innovation that can be used to fulfill the need? So, usability comes from understanding the constraints and the barriers in adoption of your solution. So, the more you know your customer, the better you can build a solution which can be used by them. The third and the most important is the value price fit. We have millions of such problems in our country. We also have many solutions that are usable, but still many of them don't make it to the market. It doesn't become a product. It stays as an idea. Ultimately, it's because customers pay for solutions only if they value. If they value the innovation is worth the price. What does that mean to us? Yes, we have our answer valued. So the innovation that will win is an innovation that is valued as worth its price by the buyer. So what matters most here? What price will the product sell in the market for? Right? What do I mean by price here? Is this the price fixed based on our cost to manufacture? I have to build a camera. These are different activities that I have to perform. These are few features that the solution will provide. This is the cost for procuring those materials plus a profit margin, right? Is this the price am I talking about? Not really. We can fix any price, but ultimately the customer should be willing to pay. By the way, we are not discussing solutions existing in the market to calculate competitive price. We are in pursuit of an innovative solution, which necessarily means we don't have a comparison to make. Okay, so how much will the customer pay? Let's assume you're building a solution for a problem. Can you tell me how much will your target customer pay? Let's assume I'm your customer. You are helping me solve the energy management of my factory. And let's also assume that the solution that you will provide will help me save 20% of my monthly electricity bill of 2 lakhs. Now, can I say my solution creates worth of rupees 40,000 saving to my target customer? Yes, that is something that I can measure. My solution's worth is X and the customer is willing to pay Y. Mostly Y is less than X. But if we can measure X with the simple case that I shared of energy management, will I be able to come closer to my price, the Y, my customer's willingness to pay? Yes. So, how do I measure X? So, what is X? The solution worth is nothing but the value you create for the customer until they experience the value, until you can define, quantify, and validate the value. It is going to be very difficult for us to make assumptions on price, right? How to get your customer to experience value. This is the core of what we call the problem value fit and the value price fit, which can be achieved only through rapid prototyping. So, can I create a prototype to test and help my customer experience value? So, what do we need? A prototype. And why do we even build a prototype? Of course, to test values. Prototype here has been the most misused jargon. I don't mean by the word prototype a proof of concept. But what is this prototype? We call it the minimum usable prototype. A prototype that can be useful, usable, that can be deployed for a specific period of time at my customer's place so that he can experience the value, can measure data, and help us identify our X and Y. And more importantly, technically feasible. So, a prototype to test value and not features. It is not something that you build to showcase someone the technology that you have learned, the know how you have, the dreams you have to build a solution. It is about a prototype that will help my customer experience the solution and help him validate the value that you claim to deliver through your solution. So, from a winning idea, which is an innovative idea, can I say we need to come up with an idea worth prototyping? And with this, I can give you easy 4 rules that you can follow to come up with your idea worth prototyping. A real world problem that is worth solving. A target user and a clearly defined use case. A useful, usable, and technically feasible solutions. A solution with the potential to become permanently deployed. When we say that, it is about helping at least one target user adopt, use, test, and experience value. Why experience value? That's when you will be able to validate the worth of your solution, and we will be able to arrive his willingness to pay for the solution. A winning idea is an idea worth prototyping. It has to have these 4 things. I repeat it: a problem worth solving, a target user, a clear use case, useful, usable, and technically feasible. And fourth, and the most important, a solution, a prototype of a solution that can be permanently deployed to test value. How do we do this? Design thinking provides us with a toolkit which will help us go through this iterative process from an idea to prototype. Let's learn it with an example. Let's take a challenge. Rehabilitation of stroke affected motor impaired patients. What should we do now? We have a challenge. We need to come up with our idea worth prototyping, which is basically our minimum usable prototype concept. Rather than me showing you this journey, can I now invite a team of student innovators who have taken this challenge statement to come and pitch to you their MUP concept?
Hello everyone, I'm Deepika Gunashekharan and she is Krishna Shivanan. We are here to represent our startup Pratikara. Our challenge statement is rehabilitation of stroke affected motor impaired patient. We started with a challenge brief, that is our problem statement, and then to the MUP concept. Let's see our MUP pitch. Let me explain it briefly. In India, around 1.2 million people suffer from stroke every year. Among them, 66% develop motor impairment. The initial diagnosis of stroke is done by the healthcare providers and doctors, and they advise 96% to undergo physiotherapy treatment for their complete recovery. The current method of physiotherapy is done with assistive device, where 62% use assistive device with trained professionals to continuously monitor the progress of the patients after each therapy. This is only possible if it is a 1:1 scenario. But unfortunately, in Indian scenario, this 1:1 is not an effective care. Because of this, 65% lost hand functionality even after 6 months duration of treatment. Why did this happen? Why? There is a lack of proper physiotherapy. So let's see the gaps in the current solution. The first method is goniometer, which is the only manual method used to measure the recovery of the patients. The next one is a Saboflex, which is a complex therapy for the patient. And continuous passive motion is the only general method of treatment for physiotherapy. An AR/VR based solution, which is an expensive treatment and it is also an hospitalized treatment. So let's see the problems of these current methods. where the recovery is going to be a painful one, and it is a less engaging treatment for the patients, and it is an tiring process where it needs 8 to 6 months duration for the therapy, and it is an expensive treatment which can't be affordable for the patients. Why are these problems faced? What is the problem there? So through analysis, we found there is a shortage in trained professionals. So this is the problem which we are trying to address. I'll hand over to Krishna.
We are introducing an innovative solution to overcome these challenges. Smart Glove for Assisted Physiotherapy, enabling patients to recover fully through gamified exercises. Meanwhile, real-time monitoring and data analysis can be done continuously. Ours is an affordable solution for assisted physiotherapy, making self-rehabilitation more engaging and effective. This solution enables physiotherapists and doctors to track the progress levels during rehab with adaptive recommendation, leading to faster recovery from motor impairments. Our solution consists of a smart glove with gaming component connecting trained professionals, doctors, and patients in a single platform, converting 1:1 need of scenario into 40:1. The features of our solutions are: it provides game-based self-rehabilitation therapy. It can track the progress of recovery. It is an affordable solution to low-income patients. It acts as a device as a service model and also as a rental model. It acts as a platform which connects doctors, physiotherapists, and patients, making the rehabilitation more effective one. We have discussed with industrial designers to come up with multiple design concepts of glove in which the sensors are embedded inside the glove material and have concentric serrations in each finger joints, making them resizable and flexible to different patients, because different patients will have different hand size. We have developed the game based upon the biomechanical parameters, with each level distinguishes specific activities. Our team consists of myself, Krishna Shivanand. I am handling the software part of our solution, and she is my partner, Deepika Gunashekaran. She is handling the hardware part. We have a strong mentoring support with different aspects like hardware, software, and from medical field too. Thank you.
Thank you, Team Pratikara, for your wonderful presentation. iTools, the innovation toolkit, actually helped them to apply the design thinking principles and to execute their journey from idea to prototype. Do you want to build an idea worth prototyping? Here is the toolkit before you. The 3-minute MUP pitch canvas is the framework which the team presented to you. Let's look at the challenge that they presented. Rehabilitation of stroke-affected motor impaired patients. If I have to do the 3-minute pitch, I have to come up with the challenge statement. Describe the challenge as it is encountered by different primary beneficiaries. The challenge significance. Describe the significance of solving this problem. When I say significance, it just doesn't mean this relates to how severely the problem impacts or affects the beneficiary. It is a great indicator, and it is very critical data which will justify the need. In simple terms, think of a painkiller versus a vitamin tablet. You can relate to both the impact they will do to the person consuming them and also the price they will sell at. In the case of the problem relating to recovery and rehabilitation of stroke patients, if the end result is minor or infrequent issues with movements of hands and fingers, then the problem significance is very low. But if the effect is potential permanent disability or reoccurrence of stroke, which could be fatal, then the problem is highly significant. When I study the significance of my challenge statement, I should also look at the magnitude. When I say magnitude, I refer to the impact. In case of permanent disability, the loss is much higher because the person becomes unemployable and unproductive. And more importantly, he needs additional cost to even take care of his basic needs. When I'm talking about the challenge statement and the challenge significance, it is also important for us to have yet another important data, which is the frequency of the problem, the challenge incidence. How widely is the problem encountered? Is the case of stroke patients, let's say, only a small number of patients suffer out of this problem because of poor rehabilitation, then the incidence is very low in spite of the significance and magnitude being higher. On the other hand, if larger portion of the stroke patients end up with permanent disability, then incidence and significance both are very high. Now, this is a need. This is a problem worth solving. If we attempt to build a solution to solve this problem, we can potentially come up with a solution that could win. How do we collect this information? The problem validation and customer discovery canvas is the first and the most important tool that an innovator has to work with. If I need to understand my customer, empathize with my user, how do I become the person who knows the problem better than anybody else, which first makes me eligible to solve this problem? This tool, the Problem Validation and Customer Discovery Canvas, will help you achieve that. Let's look at the same case study and understand how to use this canvas. First, before we start trying to get informations, it is very important for us to list down the beneficiaries. When I say beneficiaries, the target beneficiaries, the potential users, I can come up with physiotherapists, doctors, hospitals, patients affected by stroke and looking for rehabilitation, and I need to understand the perspective of all the three of them to come up with a potential solution. How do I come up with individual users or consumers for my problem statement? They are none other than individuals or organizations who will directly benefit through solving this problem. They either gain or save, or the solution brings about a change in an intangible or a tangible way if the problem gets solved. Let's look at the case before us. The physiotherapist, is he a potential beneficiary? Yes. What is his problem? He has many number of patients and he needs to provide more effective care, and he also needs to generate revenue. Are doctors and hospitals potential beneficiaries? Yes, doctors would like to understand and provide reliable recovery and rehabilitation for stroke patients because their challenge is after the treatment they do not get information of many of their patients post treatment recovery. Hospitals can provide better services, provide additional value addition to their existing customers by solving this problem, which could also be a potential source of additional income. The patients, they are the primary beneficiaries. If someone can solve this problem for them, they can lead normal lives and avoid being a burden to their own families, or in the worst case, get into reoccurrence of stroke and lose life. In most of the problem cases, generally we have multiple beneficiaries. So, how do I know is this beneficiary my potential customer? To understand that, we should logically understand who is a customer. It is very important for the innovator to identify his target customer. This exercise can help you identify your target user by customer because you need someone to test your prototype and validate the value and who could potentially pay for your innovation. So, in this case study, when they studied different beneficiaries, let's take the example of the physiotherapist. Do they have, is he the right customer? So, if we can see the customer motivation and commitment at a higher level compared to the other beneficiaries, then he could potentially be the right customer for whom we are solving this problem. This template also helps you to keep track of the number of interviews or customer discovery exercises that the innovator has performed. The more number of users or beneficiaries that you have interacted with, the lower is the validation risk in your innovation journey. So, these are questions in the order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 for the innovator to use it as a framework to ask his beneficiaries. Can you describe the problem in your own words? If you could ask this to your potential user or beneficiaries, you may be able to come up with answers. Let's see how the team Pratikara went about this whole exercise. If this process can be repeated for multiple beneficiaries and the data that is described on the canvas are exactly the words of the user and not the interpretation or the perception of the individual who is administering the canvas. They repeated this with the stroke rehabilitation patients, and the same questions were asked to many number of users or beneficiaries. Now that our innovator or our innovation team has done problem validation user discovery, can they now, based on their insights from their interviews, identify their target user and use case? Of course, yes. Your potential target user and use case. To identify your target user and use case, we need to infer the information that we curated through our problem validation customer discovery canvas. The insights drawn from our one-on-one interviews, our telephone conversations, our observations of our potential users or beneficiaries, we now document the insights complemented with secondary research in the MUP challenge brief. Can we now articulate the challenge statement better? What is exactly the problem that we are trying to solve? It is, of course, rehabilitation of stroke affected patients. But after our problem validation customer discovery, we can very clearly say, based on the inference drawn and secondary research conducted, the manual process of tracking and analysis is a time consuming effort for physiotherapists and doctors. It is also a very painful action for the patients. There is yet another larger problem hidden deep inside this. It's the shortage of trained professionals to do effective physiotherapy, which means a demand supply which puts the cost of physiotherapy unaffordable for millions of people. Based on the insights drawn from the problem validation and customer discovery canvas and the secondary research, the team could actually move from assuming that the stroke patients are their customers to repositioning or targeting the physiotherapist who treat patients. The use case is basically the scenario in which the problem occurs, where all the beneficiaries whom we believe have very high motivation are impacted significantly. The gap analysis through problem validation, customer discovery, understanding what the customer is currently doing to solve that problem and why he is not continuing to adopt the same solution, and also secondary research on what solutions are available currently in the market and what innovations or inventions in this area are in progress in research labs. This can very quickly give us a gamut of what's happening in this space, and the innovator can very clearly identify the gaps in the existing systems so that he can come up with a solution that will overcome the constraints or the adoption barriers which are there in this existing systems, and he can still build a solution to a considerable size of market. So if we have a market in spite of having multiple solutions already existing in the market, we have justified the significance, magnitude, and incidence of this problem. Then there is a potential gap for the innovator to come up with a solution and provide value to the customer. Basically, I'm sure they spoke about this during their presentation, the existing solutions and the gaps. When we come into the constraints or adoption barriers, as the tool helps the innovator to solve real-world problems, specifically in the cases where current alternatives that we saw already exist. It is very, very important to understand this barriers to adoption, because that's going to also be a potential area for innovation. Adoption barriers are those perspectives of the target customer or user that prevent them from making the current solution a part of their lives. The problems can be solved and outcomes can be realized only if solutions are used by the customers. To overcome adoption barriers, the customers have to have a significant gain. The last and the most important part of this is references. Why should someone believe what we say until we provide them the source from which we have got the information? So, all those information that has been accumulated by the innovator through secondary research can be tabulated in the references for future introspections. The third and the most important part of the pitch canvas is the value proposition. Earlier in the session, we very clearly saw the purpose to prototype is to help customer experience value. If we do not know what value we are going to create for our customer, what are we going to build? Value proposition should help the target customer make or save money directly or indirectly. How much is the solution differentiated from the alternates available in the market today? Is it a painkiller which will relieve a lot of pains for the customer? What are those pains? And what are the gains or benefits that my solution will create for the customer? These are very important questions that will help the innovator to come up with the value, to define the value that they are going to create for the customer. This is a world renowned value proposition canvas, courtesy to Strategizer. This is being used by many organizations across the world, and it's a proven model which we adopt too. At Forge, we have actually created an activity guide which will help you to do this canvas and help you define and quantify the value that you would like to create for your customer. If you look at the same case study, in the value proposition canvas, the customer jobs to be done. What are those activities that your customer is trying to achieve? It could be functional jobs like tasks or activities he has to perform. It could be social status, power that he may want to achieve or perform. It could be an emotional, feel good, secure activity that he wants to perform, or it could be the basic needs of communication, nutrition, etc. So let's look at this case study. The functional needs are the real-time monitoring of patient's progress, reduced and effective treatment time for each patient. This is exactly what our physiotherapist wants to achieve. He also wants to provide better quality of treatment. If we could list down the jobs of our target customer, we will be able to also come up with the pains that he is trying to be relieved from. So, as a customer, when I perform a particular activity, what are my pain points today? The cost that I incur, the feel that I have, the frustration, the delay, the performance. What are my actual difficulties on the ground? What is the risk? What are the common mistakes? As I go about helping my customer getting his job done, which of these gains I can create and which of these pains I can relieve? If I can understand this, I will be able to understand my customer and complete the right half of my value proposition canvas. Based on what I have achieved through my problem validation, customer discovery, identifying my target customer, empathizing to understand his adoption barriers. I can now list the basic features and functionalities that my solution needs to have to help my customer experience value. So, for each feature and functionality, what are the gains I create? What are the pains I relieve, which will help me to define my value proposition? So, for the Pratikara team who is trying to solve the rehabilitation problems of stroke affected patients, they came up finally with their solution concept. The solution, the innovative idea that we would like to come up with by using the applied design thinking tools and techniques is an idea worth prototyping. And it's now time for us to describe the solution concept. In our context, the MUP concept. Why MUP? A prototype to help the target customer experience value. MUP concept should basically describe the core features and functionalities with which the target customer can experience but validate the value that we claim that we offer him through the solution by solving this problem. Any feature or functionality which is not relevant or important for the customer to measure value is irrelevant at this stage. It is also very important to have and specify those features and functionalities of the solution that helps the customer to overcome the adoption barrier and how it will help him use the solution and make it easy for him and part of his life. It is very important for us to build prototypes with features and functionalities that attribute to these three important things. One, that helps my customer experience the value that I define that my solution would offer him. Second, the critical constraints or the adoption barriers that this or few features and functionalities will help the customer overcome his adoption barriers. And the third and most important is how easy to adopt and use is the solution going to be for the target customer, whether it is an individual or an organization. In our case study, for the pitch that you saw from Team Pratikara, the MUP canvas of an IoT connected devices was used to help them list features and functionalities based on the three parameters that we just discussed. In this canvas, it gives a complete overview or plan for the prototype to be built. This basically helps them to summarize their idea, which is worth prototyping, into a technical spec sheet. The solution or the prototype, in our case, the minimum usable prototype, which is useful, usable, deployable, and technically feasible, was built by the team. This prototype helped them to collect real-time data from their target customer. Are you interested to take up this journey to solve a real world problem and come up with an innovative solution, an idea worth prototyping? As innovators, you come up with innovative ideas to solve real world problems. You have now gone through the applied design thinking process. How do you essentially measure the potential of your product innovation? Why measure? To iterate the process and make your innovation more refined and better potential enhanced. So this canvas can help you self-assess your product innovation and complete the design thinking process of problem validation, user discovery to bring in insights from primary and secondary research into your MUP challenge brief, help you define the value proposition and come up with a technical spec sheet of your MUP, which will potentially help you build a prototype which will help your target customers experience value. Let me quickly explain you the canvas. Basically, the canvas helps product innovators neutralize the validation risk systematically and guide innovators to come up with better solutions. Is the problem statement defined clearly? Is this problem worth solving? Is the chosen target customer strongly motivated to solve the problem? Is the core value proposition defined, quantified, and validated? Is the prototype concept, the MUP, effective in testing the value proposition? To aid this process, the toolkit also gives us a very competitive, fun, and effective way of scoring your innovations in a scale of 0 to 100, consisting of 20 points each across all the 5 factors. Necessarily, this acts as a scoreboard for innovators to move from where they are today to build better solutions by mitigating the validation risk in the journey. Hope you enjoyed the session. Design thinking is a philosophy, but more importantly, it's a process enabled by tools and techniques. And what we have learned today is an applied design thinking toolkit, a journey from problem to prototype. We wish you all the best